And you know, if it's Tuesday, it's all about the docket, the latest headlines. What's going on in the world of politics? Well, who better to tell us than our very own Edwin Obuya, on time with his little goatee that's growing. Pole pole.
Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year. Philip Burutu Kamakawa Kamadawa. Fanya Mambo Kinovia. Are you seriously running for Dagoretti South?
MP, yes, definitely.
You gonna unseat KJ?
I've already unsat him. He's just waiting. He's serving his time. Hizo skuchacha zimebaki. Yes, he's actually packing his bags
as we speak.
As we speak. Yes. Now, then I can come and replace him.
So where do we start? Do we start with renovations in State House and DP's office for 1.6 billion shillings?
They told us one of the grounds to impeach Gachagua was that he was misusing the money, the public money,
correct,
to try and do renovations, necessary renovations in his office. But Jeff, this just shows you that we are back to where we are before the Finance Bill 2024 was withdrawn, because almost all the proposals that were in that Finance Bill are coming back, and this is one of those such proposals. At such a time when education sector is in limbo, when health sector is in limbo, when nothing seems to be working, for a president and the deputy to be thinking of buying new chairs or buying a new kettle, it's not just necessary for us now. We can do much better. 1.6 billion is lots and lots of money.
They say there are people who go to certain places when they get into leadership or when they are seeking leadership. I don't know if Fanyamambo will be among those who go to those dark places. They hold this belief that if Jeff was sitting on this chair and I want to thrive in this office, I cannot sit on what Jeff is sitting on. Probably that is why they have to work around making sure that whatever madimoni that were there that surrounded Rigiji have to go with him. That is why they're looking for new furniture.
Yes.
I cannot find any other way to explain why someone would want to go in for new furniture, curtains, and all these renovations at this particular time. Like Obuya says, when everything is demanding attention, when it comes to cash, it is impossible.
Fanyamambo.
Jeff, I've always told you this is a special country. It's a very special country because I think Uhuru must have been sitting on plastic chairs. The one you stack up, because why are we buying new chairs? Just the other day we spent $1 billion renovating State House and buying furniture for State House. I think the taxpayers' billion is less than the Kawaida billion. Because when you think of, for those who don't understand a billion is 1,000 millions. Yeah. You take 1 million, you arrange 1,000 times, then you have 1 billion. It's 1 ton. Kapika kakibeba kanainama kanasikia yo uzito. It's very heavy. And that's what they want to use, that and a half, to renovate somebody's office. What's an office? A desk, a chair, and a cabinet. That's all you need. So if you have a DP who needs an office for more than 1.6 billion, I mean, something is terribly wrong. Kindiki, you came and told us, you're going to be humble, you're going to be meek. What humility is there in having renovations for 1.6 billion shillings? This is an insult to taxpayers, and I think we should say no. And if Parliament passes this, then we shall have another problem with them, because they'll tell us what is wrong with the President's office. They'll tell us what is wrong with Kindiki's office. We just need to understand what is wrong with these offices, that they need 1.6 billion. Kenyans are struggling here to fix a meal, and people want to put 1.6 billion into offices. This cannot be accepted. We simply have to tell Parliament no.
When is the last time President Ruto spent a night at Kakamega State Lodge, for example? When was the last time we spent a night at one of those state lodges that they want to renovate? And they are putting a budget of 500 million to go and renovate Kakamega State Lodge. It's not necessary at the moment. It is not. For the first time we spent at Kisii State Lodge, and I think that was the first president I've heard that spent at Kisii State Lodge. I've never heard of such a thing.
I didn't know there was a state lodge in Kisii.
I didn't even know there was a state lodge in Kisii.
Yeah.
And so some of these things are just unnecessary for now.
Just we have one in Bungoma.
And Kenyans are lamenting. Kenyans speak out of this, out on these things. They speak out. Finance Bill, they spoke. They went on the streets and their voices were never heard. Public participation. Each and every person that was giving his views or her views was opposing that finance bill.
Yeah.
But the Parliament forced it through. we are back to where we are. And when as we start working on the new finance bill by June, I think some of these things might come back. And CS Mbadi should be very wary and just listen to Kenyans, because what Kenyans are saying that some of these things are not necessary at the moment. It's not necessary completely.
I think CS Justin Muturi was this close to resigning. I think he came.
He has not resigned.
He gave us he gave us a very serious anticlimax.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah, it was very disappointing.
From the word go.
Yeah,
the tone was, I hereby
tender
my resignation.
Yes,
the tone was that from the word go.
Thank you.
But then somewhere along the way, it turned out to be the story about abduction.
Yeah. Along the way, he remembered the flag on his car.
Or maybe someone sent him a WhatsApp message.
That was a very serious anticlimax. Yeah. But it goes a long way in speaking about how the temperatures are, or where the temperatures are in that cabinet. It is almost unbearable to many of them that think in the same line as Muturi. And if what we are hearing in the corridors is true, then we are waiting for that day when everyone will say, now we cannot sit and wait to be given a chance to speak in this cabinet. That will never happen. Let us go out and just say, or maybe Muturi was doing the Lord's work of
John the Baptist,
breaking the glass, or what do they say?
Yes.
So that those that had the same thought but were fearful can now gather courage and come out and speak.
Justin Muturi is an ardent student of William Ruto. He has learnt all his lessons from William Ruto. William Ruto sat in Uhuru Muigai's cabinet and kept castigating him from inside his government. He would go on vehicle tops and say, Uhuru, do not kill my children. He would go on vehicle and he said all sorts of things. Paka Uhuru akamuita tanga. But he continued fighting the government and saying, ni our levy, ni watu wa bangi, BBI ni mbaya. He fought everything government, but the only thing he never wanted was to resign. In fact, every time you told him to resign, he couldn't imagine life without the flag of a deputy president and all the trappings of power. So he wanted to continue being deputy president and continue fighting Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Justin Muturi, kaa huko, sumbulia serikali huko ndani, insult them from inside. You know, it's like being in a house and people are sleeping and then you pee everywhere. Justin Muturi, just stay there and disturb this administration from there. Don't leave. If they ask you, tell them you learned from your boss when he was DP. That's what he did. He disturbed President Uhuru Kenyatta throughout his period.
But does this one look like he can disturb?
But
no, he's disturbing already.
The thing is,
because when you hear Sudi reacting, then you know he's disturbing.
It is unheard of that a president in his first term, a minister, is standing up and challenging him openly in the glare of the media. It's something that's unheard of. But for JB is a very open-minded person. He's not a person you want to pin down and say you have to do this. If he doesn't want to do it, he will not do it. But on resigning, I think resignation will not bring him the political mileage that he needs. I think he needs to be sacked, or impeached. You know, him is just to be sacked. Like Regigi was impeached. If he is sacked, he will have more political bargaining power in Embu for any political seat that he might require. So resignation, you will be going home meekly. But when you are sacked, you know, you go home as a hero. You go home as somebody, a martyr. And so you go home and say, you know, mimi nilisema ukweli, hawakutaka ukweli wangu wakanifuta. So kama wamenifuta, si wacha na hiyo serikali yao. So being sacked has more political mileage, and you go home as a martyr than meekly resigning. And so I think he's inviting President Ruto to sack him. He's telling, I dare you, sack me. But President Ruto is also wary because the mountain at the moment is almost erupting, and he doesn't want to continue putting in more fire because it can erupt anytime. There's even rumor that some of those CSS who are appointed, who are supposed to be vetted today, are reconsidering taking those positions because it's very hot on the ground. There were speculations that some could say, come and say, thank you, but I don't want this thing.
Are you serious?
It is that serious. The mountain is literally erupting.
Tanzanian human rights defender.
Yes.
Abducted in broad daylight. A lot of kelele during the day. Was a Sunday, happened to be a Sunday. In the evening, finally she was released.
Yes.
Talking about Maria Serunga.
Yes.
Certainly.
This is an insult to our position in the international community. You remember, we are just trying to recover from the abduction of Besigye, where a country tells the whole international community that we do not know who came and abducted a foreigner in our own country. We don't know.
Yeah.
And we don't... A foreigner of the stature of Besigye.
And drove him across the country.
And drove him across the country. Not even flew him. And took him to a military base in Uganda. And we don't know. We are sorry, we don't know. And then now there's a Tanzanian national. I wonder, these abductors, kwani hawajui watoto wa Kamkatet, ama hawajui watoto wa Farah Maalim, ama hawajui watoto wa Sudi, hawajui watoto wa... wanajua tu watoto wa wale watu wanasumbua serikali. Hawajui watoto wa Kimani Ichung'wah. They just know the kids of those people who they think are a pain and a problem to the government that is a problem to us. And this is where the problem is. I wish we would give them a pin location to where some of these politicians live, or where some of their children go and drink alcohol, because most of their children, we know them, they are in bars all the time drinking. Why are those ones not being abducted? Why is it so convenient that the children of poor Kenyans, the ones who are saying no to bad administrations, are the ones who are being abducted? It is too convenient to have a government that is not doing the will of the people. And then when it's not doing the will of the people, those who refuse,
calling them out,
who call them out,
Yes.
are being abducted. And those who don't call out the government are not being abducted. But the government is not aware which devilish force this is that is able to abduct only the people who have a problem with this government.
Sudi preaching to me about morals, how to bring out my kids. Joho preaching to me about morals, how to bring out my kids. What moral authority does Joho have to preach to me about how to bring out my kids? What moral authority does Kimani Ichung'wah, for example, have to tell me how to bring up my kids? You know, it is just wrong. You know, they are not addressing the main issue. The main issue is that youths are seeing problems in this government. They are seeing things are not working out. You know, why can't they deal with those issues that are being raised? When you tag Ruto on chief, he doesn't see. But when you tag him in a coffin, that's when he realizes, you know, I'm on social media, and he becomes mad with it.
Yeah.
And start threatening people in his native Kalenjin language. It is just wrong. It is wrong. The government must and should deal with whatever that the youths are calling them.
And then
Just abducting, you know. And Jeff, it's going to be bad, because in Kirinyaga the other day, residents refused. They almost lynched the
even Nakuru.
Nakuru yesterday.
Yes.
the abductors.
The abductors, and they have the
the
policemen are going to have a very tough time to maintain law and order, because once you come, you know, it has been made that the police are not the ones doing the abductions. And so if anybody sees somebody trying to arrest me, they will say this is an abduction, and they will come for that person, whether I'm a criminal or not. You know, they are making the work of the police force to be very, very difficult, and it's going to be very because that's now two cases in Kirinyaga and in Nakuru. What will happen next? They are going to ban those Subarus, and it's going to be anarchy, and it's the creation of the government.
I remember the president and his people telling Kenyans that you must talk to your children. And I agree. In fact, there are many times I support President William Ruto. Let us talk to children. If your children own matatus, and those matatus are being driven badly, and you must talk to your children and tell them to stop driving matatus in a way that is anarchy. If your children are lying to Kenyans, and we know the parents of those children who are lying to Kenyans are alive, talk to your children and tell them to stop lying to Kenyans. So there is need for people to talk to their children. There is a 70-year-old man, 70 plus, and I don't know how we are going to deal with that man, who comes and insults Kenyans by the private parts of their mothers. Farah Maalim, you are out of order. Shame on you. And he says that in front of the president.
Wow.
You know, the first word I won't say, but the second part of it is Nina, which means mother.
Yes.
That word, and then Nina, which means mother. So insulting you by the private parts of your mothers. Wow. He has actually insulted all the mothers in this country. And he thinks it's okay. And he thinks that it's okay for a man of his age. And I call on religious leaders, the Muslim clerics, we want you to come out and call him out and tell him, no, Muslim men in the age of 70 are not supposed to behave like this. He's the same person who I think was within McNaughton rules, who told us, that the President Ruto deserves a Nobel Peace Award because of
Yes.
because of the abductions. He deserves a Nobel Peace Award. So I think Farah Maalim needs help, serious medical help. He needs to be called out. He's out of order. And the women need to come out, and we all need to come out in support of our women. I mean, this is horrible. How do you insult a whole nation by the private parts of their mothers? This is unacceptable. Farah Maalim, you are out of order. Oscar Sudi, you are threatening Kenyans and saying that if you had been put in charge of the security docket, I don't know, you would do what and where. The bulk of the Kenyans you are threatening are far much more educated than you are. They know a lot more than you think they don't. And I wish to tell you, please stop threatening brainy people. These are people who have a lot. Na ndio maana munachorwa. I mean, Museveni came and tried to speak about Kenyans. Akaambua Museveni. Alichorwa mpaka akawekwa pamba kwa mdomo. And watch at this kasa coffin. He was done so many things. I don't think he will ever talk about Kenyan young people again. And then I saw the man who loves wristwatches. Our good friend. They made a casket that has got all sorts of wristwatches for him. And they told him, this is going to be yours.
That was a very beautiful casket.
I think the way out of this is we must start talking to young people and accepting why they are doing this. And if you want to know the secret, I'll tell you why they are doing it. These are people who went into Maandamano in the month of June with their classmates. And out of those classmates, 80 cannot be traced. In excess of 80, nobody knows where they are. These young people are hurting. They sit every day and they say, my friend so-and-so, he did not have Christmas with his family. He did not graduate with us. He is not one of us. And they don't know where their friends are. They don't know whether they are alive or they are dead. And we dare submit to this administration. If you want these young people to stop drawing you, present these young people, dead or alive. The families want to bring closure. You know, you want to know you've buried your child and that's their grave. You want to know, so just produce these bodies if they are dead, or produce these young people. Then the pain, and then make a public apology as an administration. Then maybe the young people will forgive you. But you keep coming, there is a wound here, munaendelea tu kuweka bandage on top, but you don't want to deal with it. The issue is young people are hurting. More than 80 of them are missing. We cannot forget that we buried Rex Masai. We cannot forget all those things that happened. We cannot forget the sharpshooters on top of Parliament. Young people haven't forgotten. Then you come and tell them, munatuchora kwa sanduku. Let me tell you, it is not the president who is dead. They are not saying the president is dead. They are saying the consciousness of the president of Kenya is dead. Because when you see young people dying like that and you continue threatening them with more death, it means that you as a person, you exist. But your consciousness as a human being ceases to exist. And what they are telling these leaders is that your consciousness is dead. And that is what you're presenting for you in a sanduku. So stop threatening young people. Stop telling them such horrible things. Find out why they are hurting. You hurt them. You killed their peers. And even now, you have not produced the bodies of those young people. I think they need the SGR. You stop the SGR. Hii mambo ya Subaru haitoshi. Now you stop abducting people with SGR. Unapeleka 2,000, unarudia another 2,000, because the more you try to pressure us into submission, the stronger we become and the more determined we become to tell you, no, you're not going to do this to us. And so when you hear people like Kipchumba Murkomen saying the number of things that he's saying there, he just needs to know that we have read this constitution. And 300 times the constitution mentions the name court. Court, 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 Sharia court. We want him to open the constitution and show us the word abduction inside that constitution. In fact, the framers of the constitution had never anticipated that the word abductions would feature in a constitution. The same constitution mentioned the words like freedom 149 times. In that constitution of Kenya 2010, freedom is mentioned 149 times. Where is this abduction mentioned? Where are those threats mentioned in that constitution? So Kipchumba Murkomen, utapiga kelele lakini Wakenya watazidi kukuambia. We will tell you the truth.
I was looking at why the president may be taking this for a joke. You remember during the Tanga when his camp was given the Tanga name, and then he ran with it, and then it became something for him, a platform for him to campaign.
Yeah.
I think that is where he wants to take Kenyans to. I will not be surprised if tomorrow we see Mr. President with a cap. that has the Kenyan, of course, his Kenyan signature, but written Kasongo. I won't be surprised if he embraces the Kasongo name and we see him campaigning with it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised if we see him with a cape written Zakayo, because someone somewhere is consistently lying to him that you can get mileage out of. They say when they throw lemons at you, you do what?
Make lemonade.
He's literally
try to make lemonade.
literally making lemonade out of the lemons that are being thrown his way.
Rigiji. I think I have some.
Is he still around? I mean, is he still?
Yes,
Making,
I have.
making some
And
very serious political maneuvers.
January is the month he promised to
Yes.
spill a lot of beans.
What
So we are waiting.
What
I
beans?
have a lot of advice for him.
We wait.
I have a lot of advice for him.
Go
Number one, there are people who've surrounded Rigiji who are coming with this new word, Itugati. Itugati was the colonial name for those people who appeared to have been loyal to the fight against the colonialists. And it was a Kikuyu name. Rigiji, I want to remind you the reason you are impeached is because people said you are a tribal leader. Now you have allowed yourself to surround yourself with people who are hanging on your coats to be elected. And the only claim they have to fame and victory is to call themselves Itugati. And I'm thoroughly disillusioned when I see people who are lawyers today and doctors today and engineers today who are saying they are learned, branding themselves Itugati, because the fight in 1952 was very different from the fight that we have today. And today, things are extremely on a different scale from what they were in 1952. So when you hear people calling themselves Itugati and surrounding you and you are happy with it, what they are doing is they are drawing you back into a tribal chiefkin. And people want you to be seen as a tribal person and you are accepting that. Let me tell you, what will happen if now the Giriama decide to call themselves Mekatilili Wamenza? The Meru decide to call themselves General Baimunge. Then we shall have Orkoyot and we shall have Oloibon, and every other person will start feeling as if they are threatened in their space and they need to go back into the warlord zone of their tribal cocoon. We shall even have young Kabirondo. Some might even decide to call themselves Luanda Magere. What will happen is that we shall have a nation that if you put that concoction in a cup and drink, you'll have serious diarrhea. We must refuse this tag of Itugati completely. It will alienate the Kikuyu nation, because the people will start seeing the Kikuyu nation has armed itself into something that is a warlord to fight every other person. So it will be the whole country versus the Kikuyu nation. We must remove this Itugati word from our circles. It is a bad word, it is a bad connotation. Utasikia watu wameanza kujiita Oloibon na Mekatilili Wamenza and all sorts of things. It will take us back. In 1952, when they were fighting for land was the biggest factor of production. You are coming into a generation of 2025 when we are doing AI. How much space does M-Pesa occupy? If I gave you M-Pesa, you wouldn't even hold it with your hands. But it's moving trillions in a year. That time, the biggest company is the one that occupied the biggest piece of land. So you bring a 1952 mentality into 2025 and you want to win the presidency of a country in 2025. I am vying in Dagoretti South, for example. There is a Kisi there is a Luya there, there is a Maasai there is every other tribe in Dagoretti South.
Don't forget,
if I brand
there's KJ as well.
Yes. Oh, there's KJ. If I brand myself as an Itugati in Dagoretti South, nasema mimi ni Itugati kia Dagoretti South, Itugati kia Goma, Shetani. If I brand myself like that, then what happens is I become a threat to every other non-Kikuyu in that place who feels that now the Kikuyus are arming up themselves to fight everybody else who's a non-Kikuyu. Rigiji, you must get rid of that tag from around yourself and to tell people, stop associating yourself with this 1952 mentality for a war of 2025 where people are using AI and throwing people in coffins.
KCSU, we can't go without mentioning it.
Yes.
Obuya, not bad show out there. I mean, some big traditional schools came back.
No, Jeff. We have continually made our children to fail. And at times it surprises when you just celebrate the one. Imagine, Jeff, the whole country, there were less than 2,000 A's in the whole country. There were actually 1,600 and something A's.
That's it.
Yes. And then we had 48,000 E's. 48,000 E's. And
those
we had
make very good politicians.
and we had more than 700,000
2027 ngoja uone.
More than 700,000 people, students, did not make the grade to go to the university.
700,000.
700,000. That's more than half.
75%.
Yes. And so we celebrate this scream up here and we say children have done well. I saw President Ruto saying that, this is the best that they have done, and because of the changes that he has made. And I was telling myself, seriously?
700,000 is convenient for this government because they do engineer mathematics. Jom Karabati anaambia, if you have 700,000 people who cannot qualify to university, it means that they do not qualify for this special university funding model. So we are saving money to go and renovate State House and the DP's house. So they do not want you to go to university anyway, because in the funding model, it was engineered to make sure they don't pay, they don't support, they don't give money capitation. So the less you have, the better for them. They'll have money for more important things like renovating the deputy president's house and buying new cars and buying curtains and brand new watches. But also, what these people who failed in with an E, I don't think I am sad that they failed. What have you failed in? Mole concept, logarithms, using Bunsen burner, vernier calipers, some primitive measuring equipment that was only used I don't know when. Nobody else uses those things in the world that we are living in today. I wish I would be thoroughly worried if these people had been put through an exam for AI and failed. I would be terribly worried if these people had been put in an exam for using computers and doing the things of 2025 and failed. But ile syllabus tulisoma huko ya kutumia Bunsen bwana, kamoto kanawaka hivi na kitu inaitwa pipette. Where will use you pipette? Unakuchora ma frogs na sijui parts of a gizzard and korogosho. I can tell you, Jeff, for free, it is okay that they failed in an E, because those things immediately after high school you don't see them. Me have looked at, I had a log table, cos theta, sin theta, I have never used that rubbish to date. Tan theta, who is tan theta? So if they got an E in that rubbish, it is well. I think I would worry deeply if we had changed the education system and they were told to use ChatGPT, which is the future, and they failed, and they were told to use M-Pesa and they failed, which they are using very well today. And so I think there are certain failures in this life you don't call a fail.